Hello, welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour Podcast, episode number 67. I'm with Andy and Nicole Selner and Shane Duff, all from Alair Homes, which we'll get into shortly. So welcome from Alair Homes. How are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Doing great.
Yeah.
Awesome. I've been listening to Joe Rogan, and his new thing is he gets right after it. Like, there's no intros. Like, I love it. He goes, first question in like 10 seconds. So episode 67. Really cool. This is our happy hour podcast. You guys got your beer, drink, or soda of anything? There you go. You got cocktails. I have a water. I don't know.
You just gave me a reason to drink at 4:30 today.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna go get a drink. I kind of goofed up here. I'm gonna walk away for 2 seconds. I want you guys, because I already know this, but if you could explain what Alair Homes is, I'll have follow-up questions as I grab my beer. But giving me I see you in the elevator. Give me your elevator speech.
Absolutely. So Alair Homes is a network of custom builders and large-scale remodelers. We're across the U.S. and Canada. We kind of stumbled upon, back in 2010 or so, stumbled upon a unique way to really bring Joel in the background. So back 2010, we stumbled upon kind of a unique way to leverage a franchise legal structure to help really community-driven local custom builders and remodelers realize quality of life and still scale their company. Right? It's a very hands-on industry. Every project's unique. Every client's unique. So we decided if we were to leverage some of the things that we learned, we could bring a lot of people together at a single table to solve problems as a collective instead of as individuals. And it's been quite a ride. So yeah, it's a franchise system, but it's actually developed, built, and constantly improved by the franchise partners, by the builders from market to market. So it's a pretty unique environment to grow companies.
All right, I'll clarify. And again, I walked away for a second to buy beers. How many homes will Alair build? How many, and maybe you already said this, apologize. How many homes will you guys build this year?
New builds, and my operations team is probably going to listen to this and go, no, but I'm going to ballpark. It's probably somewhere around 3 to 350 in the new build, because we do a fair mix of build remodel. So probably equally as many projects on the high end or large scale remodel side as well.
So for this podcast, Shane is the franchisor. He is the McDonald's, right? He is the corporate entity of Alair. Andy and Nicole, how do you fit in? Because you're the franchise owner, right?
Yes. Yes. We would call ourselves partners.
There you go. Love it.
And I say that only because sometimes the word franchise can be viewed as a dirty word.
Absolutely. No, for real. Like,
be viewed wrong.
Corporate. Absolutely. No,
correct.
For sure. Ponzi scheme,
Correct.
Franchise, cult, right? All that, right?
The bottom line is this is just the smartest way to set it up legally, but we're all independently owned and operated, but we lock arms as a bigger group to get better. Iron sharpens iron. And
well, let's step back like 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, before you were part of Alair. Who were you guys then? How did you find Alair? And how did this all come together? What was how did you figure this out?
Yeah,
I know Andy and I are like, which one's gonna
go? Right. I think the funny thing is we always say, even a lot of new partners, is you don't find Alair finds you. And that truly was the case. Back in 2012, when Nicole and I broke away, I've been in the industry since 2001. 2012, we broke away and decided to do our own thing. Really had a view for client relations, being able to do things better, being able to spread our wings and try new things. So yeah, we started growing. I mean, we saw exponential growth, really took a foothold in the market. I think it really took some national recognition, received the national award for 40 under 40 at the time. And maybe that was the springboard that caught Alair's eye. Still haven't seen that black file yet. Shane won't give it up. But yeah, they found us. 2017, I think, was the first reach out from Shane.
Yeah. And we just decided to listen. Like, what is this? Because it's such a foreign concept in this industry. But the more we learned, it just made a lot of sense. When, as a small business, you're a jack of all trades, master of none. And how can we leverage, have an exit strategy. I think that's something that lots of builders don't always think of when they have their individual companies. Like, there's just so many different building blocks that just made a lot of sense that we kept talking to the Shane guy and ended up locking arms with lots of great partners through Alair.
I just met with a builder today for lunch. Jake Wenger, a friend of mine, Wenger Construction, a roofing company out of locally here in Campbellsport area, does commercial roofing and siding. And he literally said at lunch, which is similar to this, he's like, no one ever coaches you how to be a CEO. He's a really smart guy. He's got a business degree. And he's like, I know a lot of this stuff. No one tells you how to be a CEO.
Yeah. Very well said.
There's no CEO advice. So a little bit of Alair comes in, and I'm learning about you guys. For those listening, how do I know? They've asked me to speak at their Wisconsin leadership retreat in a few days. So how could I say no to these three if you're listening or watching, right? You can probably already tell they're dynamic people, and we love to help out builders. So I have no clue why they asked me what I'm speaking about, but here we go. I'll be there at the Off, and I can't wait. So I got to know them a little bit, so I know a little bit about this. But, I mean, in some degree, you help out entrepreneurs, CEO, business owners learn how to become a CEO. And Jake even said that at lunch today, which is great. I didn't know if I had referenced him at all in this meeting. Didn't assume I would. He literally said, I've always been a crutch for everybody. Right. And he's like, I need to learn that they're my crutch, right? That they can help me, right? They're empowered to just help me. And how can I scale that? How can I get a hold of that? Because that was really hit me pretty hard. You're right. Like, I'm always there for everybody. I have the Superman cape on, but I think Alair comes in, and tell me if I'm wrong, Shane or Andy or Nicole, you guys come in and saying, hey, we can help you. We're partners. Something that people learn, being a CEO is a very lonely club. I mean, you can't just go to the next door neighbor and being like, hey, yo, can I talk to you about some like tax stuff and like how to find a good employee? And, I can't afford marketing, but I really need marketing. And I really have no clue if we're making money or not. And my accountant's really confusing, but I think we are, ? But most days it looks like we're not, but we're supposed to be by the end of the year. Like, who do you go to for that stuff, right? Is that fair?
Right.
Yeah, Joel,
Right.
I think the reality, right, is if you really step back and what people think of a CEO is just, as you mentioned, that CEO has a team around them, and that CEO has the ability to focus on that CEO role. And I think any small business owner, any entrepreneurial minded person, especially in our industry, we live day in and day out critical thinking and solving problems. That's what we do, right? So we're used to being independent in our decision making as the only business owner. So really playing that CEO role and delegating is, you're limited by how big your team is and what the skill level of that team is, or you're always going to have this inherent feeling, well, I'm probably just better off doing it myself. So there's definitely a coaching component to what we do, but I think a lot of it boils down to providing an environment, as Nicole mentioned, kind of getting all of these builders and remodelers to join together, leverage each other, and learn at an extraordinary pace, right? But on top of that, putting an infrastructure and a team around them where they can actually focus on being the CEO. And they don't have to be the accountant, and they don't have to be the marketing expert. They can come to the table with the vision and what they want their company to be known as and what they want to accomplish, but tap into a world-class marketing team, a world-class PR team, a team that's going to train their project managers and really focus on being the face of the company and being out in the community and being at the kitchen tables with clients and just telling the story of who they are and why they've been successful and why that client should be working with them. It's, I think you have to provide an environment where these builders and remodelers have the option to really step back and focus on the visionary side of things and build the company, but give them, again, the resources that they actually can comfortably do that. Because, again, we look for people who really believe in servant leadership first. Like, they want to serve those clients. They want the best possible relationships and outcomes. So they're not going to be comfortable with just handing the reins off to anyone. So I think we try to bring a world-class team and a world-class peer group to the table so that they're more confident and comfortable in doing that, if that makes sense.
Nicole and Andy, where are you, again, a little bit even more of you guys, for those that aren't familiar with you guys, where are you out of? What do you do? What's your specialty? And this is kind of like, hey, if you're actually promoting, let's say there's somebody here looking to do a project, give yourself some street cred. I think you're both kind of humble people, but why don't you blow your own horn a little bit so we get to know you?
Well, so we focus on a mix of both custom homes and remodels. And I always like to say that cookie cutter is not our jam. We like to do different projects. We like to do things that are creative. And I think that's one thing that just sets ourselves apart. And just really the client experience, walking them through, being on the same side of the table, helping to make decisions. And so we're based out of Green Bay. Andy's been in this industry and part of the Builders Association and everything for over 20 years. And so I would say that's our niche. I don't know, Andy, if you have other thoughts to add to that.
Andy, you don't look old enough to be doing this for 20 years. You're supposed to be like a burly old guy by now, like me.
It's his birthday today. So
happy birthday. Oh my gosh.
Thanks.
Birthday. We could have did a birthday shot. That's
Thanks. It's good to be 29 again.
Yeah, you look 29.
No, I like the credit. Yeah, I mean, I started young. I would say so. Just learned a lot of life lessons early on and really took it from there. So, I mean, I like to say I have a lot to give yet, a lot to go, a lot of years ahead of me, that this is just scratching the surface. And I think that's the excitement too, where we are at in our company and what we do, that we're constantly learning. Every day is a learning experience. And I think that speaks to our projects that we're doing with the custom homes and the renovations that we're doing, because every day can be something different. Could we go out there and rechange our business model to the production style builder and stamp out the spec homes? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's definitely a need for that. But I think we just have this thirst and hunger that we like those custom projects. We like dealing with those clients that want something different. And I think it just speaks to the projects that we're doing right now, that it's fun. It's fun to do those. And some may not like it, but we do. And I mean, we're building all across Northeast Wisconsin, those projects. So we go where the good projects are.
I love it. Okay, we got to take it down this avenue. Just kind of, I was inspired as I was looking at you two, Nicole smiling, so proud of Andy talking. It was kind of a cool moment. My mom and dad started the company, Campbell Sport Building Supply, in 1985 with two other people, right? So I grew up at dinner table and my mom and dad talking work. I saw my mom crying in tears. My mom's got a high school degree, not she's watching, but she's not, or listening. My mom was not awesome at math, but she did all the books and she grinded hard. If she was off one penny, she'd cry. My dad would walk by, probably have a cocktail in hand like Shane does, and being like, that's enough. It's one penny. And she's like, if it's one penny off, there's something wrong. And she just couldn't go to bed till she got it, right on our kitchen counter. They would talk work. They would talk about home stuff at home and work stuff on the dinner table, right? They would, I could tell, right? And I could tell when they were stressed and when they weren't, perceive things. How long have you two been working together?
2014, I joined the business. Okay. So we started our business in 2012, and then 2014, I joined on.
And do you have team members, employees, just you two, or what's like, how many people do you have on your team?
We have 2 project managers, 2 site managers, an office assistant, and then some folks who help us with marketing and social media.
Now you're both out of your house today. Do you work out of your house or do you have offices?
Offices.
And that is where?
In De Pere.
And how defined are your job roles between Nicole and Andy?
As far as who does what?
Yeah, husband and wife.
It's interesting because we talk all the time. And to what your point
but sometimes you can talk all the time without talking all the time. Like, are you like, you don't have the conversations that need to be had. You have the busy conversations, but not the conversations, right? That's like a husband and wife. That's like a real husband and wife thing beyond work. But even at work, right? So
yeah.
What is your official titles? Or if I came to work by you, I'd say, well, what does Nicole do? What does Andy do? or is it we talk and some days I do this, some days I do that?
I would say we have somewhat of defined roles. So me being more in the construction industry, I would say I'm more of the operations. and a good portion of sales as well. So Nicole and I will split sales. We take team on that.
Depending on the client
and then-
or depending on their need, or kind of we try to double up.
Yeah, or like initial
closer,
screen.
opener.
Yeah, kind of an initial screening, and it just kind of depends on the types of projects. So yeah, that's how we kind of approach that. And then when it gets to more of the technicals, especially with the remodels, Andy gets in there and things like that. So
If I have to guess, Nicole's the opener, and the one that like softens them up, and then Andy's the closer. Like we got one opening.
Yes.
You're in or you're out. We're $40,000 off. This thing, I know you love Nicole. I know you love us. Like you're like, you're the guy slinging 98-mile fastballs. Like, and Nicole's just like, it's all good. It's gonna be cool. And
we
Andy's
got you.
We gotta go right now. Here's the sign here. Let's go. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's
5 minutes. What's up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I got that piece figured out. Great.
Yeah.
So how can you explain to me a little bit about the dynamics and the challenges of the married couple entrepreneur owning a construction business in 2022 and raising a family? You have kids and all that, right? So how is that? Like, I'll spray this a different way because that's a really tough question. How do you balance it? What tips and tricks could you give people? How do you balance it? Or what are the challenges? Like, we don't balance it. We're screwed up. That's okay too.
It's yeah. I mean, we're constantly trying to figure it out, but I think tips and tricks. I mean, we started this years ago. Just like any other business, there should be work hours. So we started to, I'm going to say, train our clients that, hey, at the end of the day, I want to shut my phone off. I don't want to be taking texts. I don't want to be answering emails at 8 o'clock at night because there is family time. So it's just creating that mutual respect right off the bat. That
how did builders create a thing where we're available 24/7, right? I should say we, but even me, like,
right.
When did that start as a builder? Like, I'm just available.
Yeah.
Like
I know
it's kind of
and
interesting.
we discovered
dynamic,
that's how you would get burnt out. And so we've been
sure.
down that path. And once we've experienced it, we're like, something's got to give, something's got to change. And so you still can provide amazing customer service and care for your clients, but just say, for us to be the best for you, we need to, fill our tanks and
so how do you make that clear?
refreshed.
Do you do that on the contract time? Do you do that when they start pushing your buttons a little bit? Like, when do you actually, excuse me, Andy, I always hate the word train customers, right? Like, I don't train. We've had salesmen that go, I'm training my builder. I'm like, you're training your customer? I'm like, what the hell is that? You're not training your customer. I'm like, maybe you're talking them into our relationship and what we're developing, but my God, I'm training these framers over here. I'm like, what?
It's more setting the expectation, right?
Shane's wise with words.
Putting those guardrails in place.
Guardrails, right? Again, just I call customer service no different than setting customer expectations. And I use Red Robin. Shane, do you have Red Robins by you?
Yep.
Right. So Red Robin, right, and McDonald's, right? So it's all just customer service is just expectations. And I'll just do a quick analogy before we go back to that, Andy. Is I go to McDonald's, and if they charge me $13 for a burger, it takes me 20 minutes. I'm going to be freaking pissed. If I go to Red Robin and they charge me $2 and I get my burger in 30 seconds, I'm going to get pissed. Right? There's no difference. It was just your expectation. You give me that Big Mac for $3 in 30 seconds and I pound that thing, I love it. You give me that Red Robin $13 burger, it takes 25 minutes and I eat all my fries, I love it. All just expectations. So I guess back to the question, when do you guys talk to your customers about, hey, this is how we operate our business and this is what we expect out of you, this is what we expect out of us? When does that happen? Is it organic or is it formal?
It's typically organic.
Okay.
Yeah. And it really just comes down to the clients and how they're, because you can start to get a feel right off the bat of like, hey, what are they going to be like? What's their communication style? And you just kind of head that off right at the start. If they start carrying on those conversations later, yeah, you just got to set that expectation when you feel the timing is right. And for some, it's right initial sales meeting. You can get that gut feeling from those clients that, hey, we need to set these parameters right off the bat because you know how it can go. I mean, we all get those gut feeling with those clients. You got to get that out on the table right away for certain things.
What percentage of customers do you walk away from? If you have 25 clients and you're getting these weird spidey senses, like, how often do you be like, I don't think we're a good fit?
A lot.
Probably, yeah, 80-90%. I mean, and
You
again,
literally
that's
say no to 8. You literally say no to 9 out of 10
if
clients.
if you get the spidey
Oh, no,
senses,
no. Like
and
of
that is
30, of 30 customers you meet, how many are you saying, I'm not sure we're a right fit?
oh,
2, 3, 5, 1?
it's usually not that much, because I think folks start
One-
coming to us because they like the vibe, they like what they see after, because that's what we found is that customers are doing so much research before they even reach out to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we're getting really good at our initial sales call, or when that lead first comes in. That's the gate. If they get through that gate, well, then they're a good possibility. But usually that first call is the crucial call.
So we talked about boundaries, about setting expectations for, hey, don't text me after this and that. I think that's really, really wise and really, really smart. Thank you. What do you two do about that? Or are you guys just like true crazy Mark Cuban entrepreneurs that you two lay in bed at night and talk about work and neither one of you burn out from that? Or do you have some sort of controls, like we can't talk about work this much, honey, ... Or do you reset the bar once in a while? Or do you actually have like code words of like, nope, we don't go there? Like, how do you guys manage? Yeah. How do you manage that? We'll go back to that balance piece. How do you go back to that balance piece of leaving work at work and home when you work together and you're both so damn passionate about it? I know at 7 o'clock at night, you're watching Netflix. You're like, I should run this by Nicole right now. What do you do?
Sometimes run it past. I mean, like, I'm more guilty of asking Andy the questions because I like to get things done. However,
no, of course, and there's sparks and there's human nature, and everyone talks about it's on your mind, but overall, without burnout. I mean, burnout's the key.
A game changer, I think, for us, and Andy, tell me if you agree, is when we moved our office or our operations out of our home, because then you do just have that transition piece going back, and then the reality is, as our kids get older, they're involved in more. So I think it kind of organically happens. But I think when you're a young entrepreneur or a young builder, there's just this reality, you got to do that grind. But then as you be mature and your business model is more established, then you're able to set those boundaries a little bit better, and you learn from your mistakes, and you're able to just find out what works for you. So I think that is one key thing, is really having a separate office space that has helped us. And then being intentional.
Wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Intentional. I mean, I just talked to my 48-year-old, went to high school with this person, and we just said, I never saw the sunset in my 30s. Never saw the sunrise. Like, I see the sunrise almost every morning now, like intentionally. Like, I really just watch the sunrise. I get up super early to watch it. Now I don't have to get up super early anymore. But in your 30s, you just have this high energy, go, and that's totally cool. But I think you do slow down a little bit with birthdays, right, Andy? And just start sensing things and putting up boundaries and guardrails. I do worry about work at home cultures because of that too. I even worry about, I used to live about 2 minutes away from work, and it wasn't enough time to decompress. In fact, we had really little kids once, and my wife, Pam, God bless you. I'm sure she's not listening or watching, but if she was, right, I literally was in my garage and I walk in and she's like, I know what you're doing. And I'm like, what? And we had really little kids. You just sit in the garage because you just don't want to come in. I'm like, no. I'm like, she's not wrong, but I'm like, I'm decompressing. Like, I just need a deep breath. So I think there's a good, healthy balance to live a few minutes away from your work, to have that commute, just to rewire your brain from work, especially us super driver grinders that are just high powered,
right?
Of to just being like, I need to chillax. And now I transition into building Legos, playing with Barbies, and making supper. It's a different grind.
Yeah. I will say too, I think surrounding ourselves with people that you respect in business, and I think that's where Alair has come in, is just seeing others who are doing that self-care or making time to feed into their passions is inspiring to us and helps hold us accountable just by being surrounded by them. Because I totally have noticed a difference when
it goes back to your roofer friend. There's nobody there to train us to be the CEO. So when you're in your individual silo of a business as an entrepreneur, there's nobody to tell you that you should go home and have dinner with your family.
Like, oh, really? We don't do that. I thought that was like thing we don't do, right? Like, I own a business.
Right. It's kind of that sometimes that you feel like it's that expectation of like, oh, I just got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Where, like I said, if you don't shut off and recharge your batteries, the next day you're not at 100%. You're not
No, and
giving anything.
You feel you need to give everything to the company because the company is you and you are the company. And also you don't have an identity, and it snowballs really bad. And I feel horrible for those people, but it's very unhealthy. And I think people end up retiring early. Again, we talked about succession planning and legacy, and they end up shutting their business down and having a different career. And they realize their company's worth nothing because, hey, I just build homes. I don't really have any inventory. I don't really have a brick and mortar. You guys do.
You didn't take time as a CEO to set up your processes and put people into place to remove you from your business.
Yeah.
Because when you can remove yourself from the business, that's when your business is valuable.
Yeah. And part of it for me is the people you hear that birds of a feather flock together, the 5 people you hang around with, you become. I really think that's super underrated. And I think that's super, super true. Sometimes you do have to get rid of that college friend or high school friend or next door neighbor that just doesn't quite get it, and almost be alone for a little bit until God gives you or people reemerge in your life, And I know for you guys, it's been the Alair Homes group. For me, it's been different connections that I've made and people internally, and it's a different group, a little bit, not much. I still have high school friends and grade school friends, which I'm blessed with in my family, but it's really the people that are influencing you on a daily basis help you a lot. And if you're with people that are high drinkers, high volume crankers, all that kind of stuff, super busy moms and all that stuff, and they're just hyper, you end up being that way. Like, well, I guess Johnny's got to do all the club teams too. Like, this is just the way it is, just the way you raise a kid. Like, like it doesn't have to be that way. Shane, you haven't had a voice for a while. You're a smart dude. I can tell you are just dying to say something. So go ahead, buddy. You got a voice here too.
No, I mean, I think when you start to look at because my wife and I won't say we run companies together. She had a business that we were pretty involved in, and I think for us, I do still work from home, and for me, she's sometimes challenged by the fact that I do need that window afterwards. I can't answer questions. I've got severe decision fatigue by 5, 6 o'clock at night. I can't do anything, I've
never heard that term, decision fatigue. I called it mush.
Yeah.
Like there's physically tired and mentally tired. And I used to work in a yard. I used to work at my yard, college, high school, and grinded labor-wise. You could take a nap and just be a rock star.
Yeah.
You're mentally mush. You're mush. It's a horrible way. And I lived that life for 20 years. I think I've evolved and come out of it, but our company ran that way, and I was just mush. I couldn't even be in the sandbox with my kid. I would just be like, you're watching Netflix, but you're not. I don't even know what was on. Like, I don't know.
I think to your point too,
was like sparked up was drinking. Maybe that was my 30s, or maybe that was me. But I was like, back alive.
But something else you said, I think comes into that mix, right? Because when you do have people around you who do not have that comparable mental strain by the end of the day, and they are just physically tired, and they haven't had that throughout the day, they can't understand a lot of your lifestyle either.
Sure.
They just think, well, just keep going, we're fine, let's go to the bar, let's go.
Yeah.
And I think the more you surround yourself with other individuals who do have very tough and large numbers of decisions to make every day, I think you find yourself around those who have learned this already. I mean, that's speaking from my experience. They've learned this, and they're like, hey, stop. Don't, or they will just refuse to respond to you, just like we sometimes have to do with clients. You just won't get an answer. And after time, I think that mentorship or that accountability, however you want to put it, you start saying, you know what, I should be doing the same thing. I see this now. I shouldn't be answering people all night long.
I still respect people that don't answer. I have to answer.
Yeah.
But I've transitioned in. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Like, I just can't not reply. Like, that's just me. Like, I actually respect people that I have tried so hard to not talk at a meeting. I'll put STFU on the top of mine and shut the F up on the top of my legal pad, and it just won't happen. But I respect people that can sit through a whole meeting and just observe. I love it. They're like the coolest people in the world to me. Say less, right? The people that say the least seem the smartest. So that's pretty cool stuff. That's really, really good and really impactful. We are already, I can't believe this. You guys have just flown through this. We're already over a half an hour in. So we have to transition to our very final piece already. I want to get one more. No, we are not doing that because I want to get really, life is about being authentic and being really real, right? So this is about being authentic and being really real. Nicole and Andy bought from Drexel and Wrightstown. They were like our favorite account. And then I get a phone call from somebody. I don't even remember who it was. And they're like, Nicole and Andy want to meet with you, and I think we're getting fired. I'm like, all right, well, whatever. And this is when Joel was working 70 hours a week. We were a completely different company. I was working all this stuff that like we said not to do or whatever. This is when Joel was doing all of that, right? I actually think St. Paul is like my favorite apostle. Again, go spiritual, because he was that dude. It's like, no, I was the worst sinner. Like, you have to listen to me. And I think I can help people now because I was the worst sinner in business. Like, I was that dude, right? So I'm like driving up to Wrightstown, like whatever. I've been, I've had bad feedback before. Whatever this is, it's fine. And Nicole and Andy sit me down. I'm like, hey, what's up? And Nicole, I will never forget it, ever. Veins are popping. She's red in the face, and she is letting me having it. You think you're like this? Let me tell you how bad you suck. And I was like, okay, you done? And I think at one point I even said, are you done or something along the line? She's like, no. And I was like, oh, I'm going to eat my poison today. She's like, oh, was I really like that? Yeah, you were, again, being real. Oh, yeah. We needed to hear it. Everything was valid. And again, I would be real if I thought you would be over the top.
I think I said it very, kindly but truthfully.
You said it as nice as you possibly can, but again, I read body language and intent, and your veins and if you could have killed me, you would have.
Joel, I've never had that experience with Nicole. I don't know what you did, but
But you know what? I think it's one of those things where you have, as vendors, it's telling the truth in love, and because you don't know what you don't know, and
no,
we're back.
Don't feel bad. This is like, if I came out here to make you feel bad, that was not
no.
I'm just being real, right? So I mean, there's hopefully a good ending here, right? So we took that pill. You guys were gone. Like, I'm like, did they ever? I'm like, they're never buying. Somebody was like, well, I think they got it out of their system. I'm like, no, they will never, ever buy from us again. I am so confident of that. But here we are. So you're now a Drexel customer. What happened to? And again, it's good learning lessons. Mm-hmm. For everybody here listening, a lot of people that are going to be listening and watching are from Drexel, but from the industry. Why did you leave? Why did you come back? What changed? What was the difference? What were you looking for then? What did you get now? What happened? Give me the story.
Well, I think when we parted ways, and I think quality wasn't there. There was lots of mistakes happening. There wasn't. It was just a cluster. Let's just put it that way. And fair enough to say.
A lot of empty promises. With
so it was more like, I mean, I really want to kind of get into it just to help any Drexel teammate or anybody listening.
Time ago.
But it's hard to remember. But it was more like, yep, we're on it. But then nobody was actually on it. If I kind of perceived it that way, like a lot of empty, hollow promises, half communicate. I think the worst thing to do is half communicate. Like, I can do it. Probably should be. Like, that's not actually communicating. Is that a bit of the problem, right? In a nutshell?
That, and I think also probably some of the teammates that we were working with were extremely green, which we all need opportunity to grow, but it doesn't cut it when you are dealing with large projects and expensive mistakes or timelines. And I think you probably know us well, or maybe have heard through the grapevine. We're highly scheduled. We like to minimize emergent needs and things like that. So that what Drexel was providing and how we operated, we're not meshing.
Yeah,
and so that kind of comes down to it.
We didn't. I mean, looking back again, like, we were always like, cool. I mean, I think you even said it today, Nicole. You guys think you're like this? You're not like that. But like working with you is not real. And that was kind of a thing. Like, we were like an illusion to a lot of customers. Yeah, we had green people, but we also did a poor job truly developing and training people. We didn't have formal training. I didn't believe in it. I was from my mom and dad. I was old school. You learn on the fly, you grind, you figure things out, you're self-taught, right? Like, I'm like, you'll pick it up. You got to get this. Like, it's common sense to me, right? Like, you're a street hustler. And the reality is, people do need formal training. They do need behind the scenes, calm down training. But again, we were working 70 hours a week. When would we actually have time to train? That literally was my philosophy. And we didn't do that, right? And then they got caught up in that game. And then also they didn't understand truly builders' needs, right? And I don't think builders, when they said they were greenhorns, I think this has changed a lot for vendor relations. They're not I don't, and again, tell me if I'm wrong. Builders don't need, since I've been in the industry since about 1990, builders needed product experts. They needed people that understood how jobs went together and were put together, and the product knowledge and the expertise of the products. That has fundamentally changed. The Andys of the world know how projects go together. Projects managers can put pieces together. Nicole's and your staff can understand the products. That's all Googleable. The customers understand the products. You need project management people. You need people highly, like you said, scheduled and organized, and maybe a Shane's input, right? And true partners stand with you, like I always call it like a bank project manager with so our salesmen now have very few accounts, have many less accounts, and hopefully getting that stress reduced to saying, I am truly here for you and your needs. And you know what? So the hole in your schedule, this is an idea and I have value add. I know we can do better for Alair. I know we're not there yet, but that's our new vision, and we weren't there at the time. But why did you come back? And thank you for coming back, first of all. And it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And why did you decide to come back, and what's changed?
Mike Word.
Wait. First of all, did that hit the mark of what you're looking for in a vendor?
I would say true partnership, equality, and that we need to be working together. We need your area of expertise. We need the knowledge, but then also the getting it done. And we're always constantly saying, like, how can we prevent issues? How can we be on the same page? Because that all helps us help the projects move smoothly, helps people make money.
Not reactive. You're not a fireman on your job.
Right.
You're proactive. We have big signs in our stores. Our job is to be organized on your behalf, not just organized on your behalf. We have this ready to go. We have this piece of the project ready to go. We're out looking for you. Hey, it's time to order this. This is time to schedule that. We're falling behind here, and following your schedule, but also implementing ideas to help you guys grow and sustain and be balanced and not putting out fires, being proactive. Yeah. Like, if we don't do this now on this job, that's going to snowball into 10 jobs. Is that fair? Yeah. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah. And really just open and honest communication. Like you said, being authentic, that is huge. I know when Mike came to us and we tell it to new vendors.
Shout out to Mike Wordle. Sorry, I cut you off, Nicole.
Shout out to Mike Wordle.
Yeah.
Mike's going to be like, shit, she was giving me a compliment and Joel just cut her off. So thank you. Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
And any new vendor, and like you said, this could be a learning lesson for any new trainees you have too. Like, we tell them right out, do not buy our work. Do not get in there and try to squeeze every last dime and shortcut things here and there. Give me the open, honest, upfront pricing, honest answers that I need. Because if we're dealing with BS, that's not going to cut it. Mm-hmm. And we always say too, no different than us in our industry, we don't, as custom builders, we don't want to be treated as a commodity. If a client comes in and they're shopping around their shopping price, they're looking at us as a commodity. They don't see our value. When you can show your true value, whether you're a builder or you're in a sales role, that is key. That is going to win you jobs down the road. It may not win you jobs right away, but it'll serve you well in the future.
Very well said. Go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, it's that, but then also how can we get better? Because we're not perfect either. And we're all, just like your company is evolving, ours is evolving. And so that's where we need to be a team and really always say, hey, what can we do a little bit different to make things easier? But then I would also say the culture at Drexel is something that draws us in. Like, culture is so important to us because people are enjoying what they're doing when we interact with your team there. I love, one of the key differentiators is anytime I would walk in, it was always a consistent experience. Do you want any water? And then you guys, giving out the merch, our boys have more Drexel clothes than they do Alair clothes. And like, our youngest is a Drexel groupie. Like, that's the only sweatshirt he will wear to school. So it's that culture, it's the supplying happiness. I mean, like, that's what it is. And that's not undersold. I mean, like, there's such great value in that culture. So that's why we came back, and Wordle and Beezer, they've been really helpful and good partners to work with, and true partners. So that is why we're back. And then even interacting with you too, because of the culture that you've helped create and craft with the team.
Well, I really appreciate that. Going back to Andy's point, that true transparency, our industry is horrible at giving bad news, right? Automotive people are great at it. Hey, you came in for that oil change? Yeah, it's gonna be like $8,000. So you got like problems, right? Dentist, great at giving bad information. Came in for a cleanup, you need two things removed back in the bad area, right? We got wisdom teeth problems, you got a whole. They're good at giving back. We're good news people. We're doing remodels, we're doing projects, even as vendors, we're supplying things are happening on track. And of course, the pandemic has taught us to give bad news, but we need to be clear about the bad news, even if we're a new customer or a 20-year customer. And I do think that is when we get ourselves in a really bad world of hurt. It's not 8 to 12 weeks. Because if you tell somebody 8 weeks, what do they hear? 6 weeks, right? 8 weeks, like literally I always love doing that. Like if you told me 8 to 12 weeks right now, what am I hearing? Well, it's probably like August 15th, September. So like you're talking October 1st. No, bro, it's September 8th. I'm thinking Thanksgiving, you're thinking October 10th. Like we're way off. Like don't tell people 8 to 12. Give them, like I always say, give them Tuesday at noon, right? And if it comes in early, you're like, wow, you're the best, right? Like, and that's not setting a dumb expectation. It's clear. Or like, hey, Nicole, guess what? Really screwed up. This is really bad news. We're horrible at that. And I think, Nicole, you hit on that. And constructive criticism back to a customer, I'm sure that's happened in any industry, right? Like, do you know you got your you have two project managers. Did you know Rachel's not good at a lot of things? She's tough to work with. Giving that constructive criticism is horrible, but I would think Andy and Nicole, you would agree, is so valuable. That's like, there's a partner, right? You guys use that partnership word at Alair, I think, a lot. That's a partner. Accountability and making us better is what is needed in this industry, and now we're building better projects.
I want to just jump in and say, because I think
I could tell Shane was just dying. I could just tell he's dying.
You know,
I
think there's two things. Number one, this is why Nicole and Andy wanted you to join us in Wisconsin, right? And then as they explained why, it was like, this seems like a no-brainer, and the culture and everything else. I mean, it's so aligned with what we believe as a collective group. But, you know, just talking about this feedback, this constructive criticism, I think that's one of the things that helps us thrive as a group, because again, we talk about accountability. True accountability comes with sometimes giving people feedback that we may not think they want, but I do believe that as entrepreneurs, at least I am this way, I want that feedback. I want somebody to tell me if I'm not showing up the way that I say I'm showing up, because it's not, you know, it's usually not an intentional thing, right? You're really trying to service whoever it is you're working with. So I do think that candid vulnerability, right? So being candid with the people and being vulnerable to hear it back is critical in any work environment, in any type of partnership environment. So.
Yeah, and I think that is a really cool point of Alair Homes to circle all the way back. You know, when you're with with partners, I won't use the term franchise. When you're with partners, you understand that there's a level of, we're going to hold ourselves accountable. We're going to push each other. We're going to somewhat manage each other. And there's a friend group, but then it goes beyond that. You know, I've been in round tables, which is similar. But when you really get to be friends with somebody, they're going to call you out and being like, hey, you're going to hit that financial mark and you're really close. My favorite one is employees. Like, hey, Roger's still your accountant? Yeah. Like, dude, we were like 7 beers in and you promised me you were firing him on Monday. Yeah, we had you've had 20 come to Jesus. It's been 3 years, dude. Roger's got to go. I mean, there's this, you know, right? Like, them are some of my favorite all-time conversations, which, again, if you do not have an Alair Homes group, going back to a full circle conversation with Andy and Nicole, when you're just on your own island grinding in your own office, you might not even realize they're a bad employee or a teammate on your team until somebody outside those walls being like, what's really holding you up? I've known you for an hour and you've mentioned the name Julie 6 times, right? So those sort of things, I'm guessing, are just the tip of the iceberg of what Alair Homes could offer any builder or remodeler. Is that fair, Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just nailed it. It is a round table. It's just a round table magnified, because we all operate in the same business processes and systems, right? So being able to hold each other accountable is just elevated, and being able to feed into each other's companies is elevated because it's truly the same company.
because you intimately understand the company, not on a surface level. You're like, I literally know how we do this, and I literally know you're doing that wrong.
Absolutely.
Literally, like easily, like I can define that in 2 seconds. Okay, now we are at the end. Now that we had that real conversation, I appreciate you all for that. Very, very much. So the last question I always ask every single buddy that comes on, you got one big giant billboard. It says something or is a picture of something or whatever it is. It's your billboard. It's going to stay up a very long time. Tons of people are going to see it. What does it say and why? We'll leave Shane for last. I feel like he got pinched out of the conversation, so he gets the last say. We will go ladies first, Nicole.
Oh, okay. Well, it's I would say it's like the Alair tagline, and it's not. It just, the tagline is "Living Better Starts Here," and it's not just because of Alair, but it's because of us. Like, we have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to choose to want to live better, to have balance, to focus on what's important. And that's just a really great reminder. So that would be the words on it. And then I would have a ninja on it because I love ninjas. They're calculated, they're smooth, they just get things done. And so that would be my billboard. So people would talk.
I love it. I mean, she literally went Alair tagline, which is like insane. But I've been obsessed with the term. Mike Wordle is your quarterback, as we call him. But I've been obsessed with the term relaxed sales ninjas. Like, if you're a ninja, but a relaxed one, you have conquered the universe, right? Like, I love ninjas, but if they're relaxed, like, that's when it's cool. So relaxed sales ninjas. So thank you, Nicole. Andy.
Well, if I had a billboard, I think the phrase that comes to mind to me, to put a phrase on something for just helping everybody, is failure to plan is a plan to fail. And I think it resonates with me so much just because I think just daily what I do is just, if you're not planning your day out, even, you just, how do you know when you get something done? How do you know when you accomplish something? And we just try to drive that entire team so much of like the simple things of putting your tasks in a calendar to help you feel like you accomplished something. Just gives you that sense of accomplishment and gets you going for the next thing. So it's constantly about planning.
Are you Google Calendar person?
Yes.
And where do you keep your task? Handwritten? I mean, do you write them down at night, in the morning?
Handwritten. And then I'll even put those, if there's something I know is coming up, it goes right into my electronic calendar right away.
Always Google Calendar? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how many calendars do you have? Like, just your main one, or do you have family Google Calendar, your calendar, Alair calendar, hockey schedule?
I think there's
He
probably
manages
6.
one, but we probably have 4 or 5.
Okay, that's good. You guys are planning. I mean, that's your thing. I can tell you're a planning person. I love it. Time. Just read this, and again, when you get older, you kind of understand that, or when you have a certain income. I mean, again, if you're making $15,000 a year, there's a point of wealth, but when you're financially fairly stable, wealth is not money. Wealth is time. The true wealth is time. Who is the person that can, you literally think our culture is screwed up, because if you think about it, when we were growing up, I'm 48, when I was growing up, a wealthy person, you signified what? They were on the Love Boat, they're on vacation, right? That's what movies told you, right? That's what rich folk did. Now, if you look at movies, what do rich folk do? Grinding. They're at the bar at midnight working a deal, they're hustling, it's midnight in the bar, and they're, Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm Jeff Bezos, and I'm always working. I'm Elon Musk, and that's all I do is work, grind, right? I mean, that wine guy, right? I don't know, I forget who the hell that is, that street hustler guy on Instagram or whatever, right? They're always working. Like, that's their thing. Joe Rogan, wake up and grind. And I think that's kind of wrong. I think we got to get back to, hey, where's our time? And time is our only asset. And if you're not planning it and managing it and microscoping it and saying no to a million things and saying, my calendar is not allowing me to overschedule, I think you're spot on. I think time is your asset. And the only way to do that is to plan it out, primarily.
That's right.
Great stuff. Shane, you got it.
So I'm going to keep it super simple but broad. I think it would just be a single sentence. Don't believe everything you think. I think
expand on that a bit.
I think that carries across so many different things. You spoke to, generational industry experience, and you think that this is the way it's supposed to go. Sometimes we think somebody slighted us. There's so many instances, I think, in life and in business where we come to assumptions based on what we feel is strong intuition. And, especially I think today more than ever, you really need to be, I won't even say empathetic. I think compassionate more than anything else about where people are coming from, and recognizing that may have nothing to do with you. And I think in relationships that's probably more important than any place. Husband, wife, spouses.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I think on so many levels, that's great. A little bit with customer relations, right? A lot of times when people call me, hey, are you the owner? Those never go well, by the way. I realize, I've realized years ago, it's very rarely about their tile.
Yeah.
Right? It's very rare about the grout in their tile. They're having a really bad day, having a really bad experience, and the tile set them off. Doesn't mean they're not upset about the tile, but you don't respect it. And I think it was the Stoics that said that, back in the Roman Empire type stuff, and I truly believe that, the smarter you get, the less you know, because the truth is not the truth, right? I mean, we aren't talking politics, but, follow the science. Well, what is the truth? What is the science? I think you need to rethink what you know, and be open to challenge yourself personally to being like, what was your exact line? I didn't write it down, Shane. Don't believe everything you think. Correct. And also don't believe in what you think you know is probably, you got to keep relearning what you think you know. That is the true key. I guess it's the beauty of math, right? I even spiritually think if you want to think God exists, study math. Yeah. Right? Like math's not random in the universe. Like it's always perfect, which is so fucking cool. That's like the only thing you don't have to rethink, right? Like that's pretty cool. My brain doesn't work that way, but I like where you're going with that, Shane. I think that's something you can meditate on and really kind of blow your brain when you're like, that's a true statement. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on to episode 67. I'll see you guys next week.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
I still have no idea. My wife has said, what are you talking about? I said, I have no clue. But they said they're going to lead me down the path of doing some cool stuff. So I believe in them. And she's like, are you sleeping? I'm like, yeah, this is not like, and she knows that. She's like, that's your thing. Like, you don't worry about that stuff. I said, it's going to be great. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming on. Thank you guys for your business. Appreciate you guys. Love you. God bless. Peace.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks, Joel.
Cheers.